tonight. Chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum says region needs prayers and is working towards a political solution for the court case involving proscribed IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. Gunmen killed at least one policeman in attack on police station in Afikpo local government area of Ebonyi State. EFCC interrogates former secretary to the government of the Federation, Ayim Pius Ayim, over alleged corruption and diversion of funds. And Uganda's president describes yesterday's deadly bomb blast in the capital, Kampala, as a possible act of terrorism. There appears to be a renewed vigor by leaders of the Southeast geopolitical zone towards restoring lasting peace to the region, judging by comments made by chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, Mr. Dave Umahi. Mr. Umahi was speaking at a church function in Enugu State, says the Governors Forum, the Ohanese and Igbo, and other groups of interest are working to find a political solution for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. For the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, this move has become expedient, considering all the agitations, the sit-at-home orders, and other security challenges confronting the region and ahead of the Anambra governorship elections coming up in the state. This southeast part of Nigeria has been under various forms of security breaches in recent times, which has seen attacks carried out in federal and state government institutions, thereby requiring the call for peace and truce.
We need a lot of peace in Southeast. And I want to assure you that the political leaders, religious leaders, the Ohanese, they are working very hard to offer a political solution on behalf of our brother. The situation we found ourselves has gone beyond what was started. The cultists, the armed robbers, kidnappers have taken over. And this is not what we want for Alibo. Through prayers, I am very sure that we can bring peace again and prosperity in our land. And let me assure that every aspect of the concerns of our youths, our elders, our religious leaders, we have articulated them through the committees of Ohanese. And I can assure you as the chairman of Southeast Governors Forum that we address them one by one with the center.
Well, staying in his state, a police officer has been killed as gunmen suspected to be members of the proscribed group of indigenous people of Biafra, numbering about 35, attacked the Uwana Divisional Headquarters in Afikpo North Local Government Area of Ebonyi State. In a statement by the police spokesman, Oda Obianuju, the gunmen invaded the police station, shooting sporadically at the policemen on duty, who immediately engaged them in a gun battle and repelled the attackers as one of the hoodlums was killed and 2 AK-47 rifles recovered, while others escaped with bullet wound injuries. It adds that one police inspector attached to the division was fatally shot. The investigation revealed that the deceased suspect had been on the police wanted list for various attacks on police stations, and one of the recovered AK-47 rifles has been identified to be the rifle stolen from Mohaku Police Division earlier this month. The Commissioner of Police, Ebonyi State Command, Aliyu Garba, has embarked on an on-the-spot assessment of the division and has ordered a manhunt for the fleeing hoodlums. With the rise in violent incidents in the southeast geopolitical zone, especially ahead of the November 6th governorship election in Anambra State, is a result of collaboration of some insiders with those outside the region for political gains. The thoughts of elder statesman and former governor of Anambra State, Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezefe. Dr. Ezefe told Channel Television's Ladi Akeredolale on our current affairs program Newsnight that some of the narratives on how the violence came about and spiraled were wrong in material facts.
Remember when the incident in Owerri prison happened. Remember when that incident happened. When attack on non-government started That's disheartening of unknown government. Those people who were the unknown government, Governor Obiano said, Governor Hope Uzodinma said 70%, more than 70% of them were not from the East. And that happened months before Nnamdi Kanu came back. Now, the Akunyili case, my own people, and my PA is experienced, is retired like me. They saw it happen. The issue of those people who were there saying there will be no election and that process is a lie, clear lie, intended to mislead. My PA, my driver, and the other people who saw this thing happen never saw any group of people claiming responsibility or saying there will be no election. I cannot claim that nobody from IPOB is responsible. Never. I can't claim that. I don't have the knowledge. But let me tell you, there are bad people everywhere. There may have been, especially at the beginning, some people who acted violently. And those people may be from even Anambra. But the issue is, it is not they who are causing the mayhem.
You can watch the full interview with Dr. Ezeife on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow, October 25th, 2021 at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Like their counterparts in the Southwest, the Southeast governors have, for the umpteenth time, considered the establishment of a joint regional security outfit named Ebubeagụ. This development was re-echoed by the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, Governor Dave Umahi, during their last meeting held at the Government House in Enugu State. According to him, the outfit will complement the efforts of security agencies in the region to fight crime. This next report gives insight to the security challenges facing the zone in the last 6 months and the preparedness of the Southeast states ahead of the establishment of the security outfit.
In the last few months, the security situation in the Southeast has been characterized mostly by a series of violent attacks by gunmen targeted at different government institutions, leading to the death of soldiers, policemen, and innocent citizens. According to reports, no fewer than 175 persons have lost their lives in the last 6 months. Prominent among the recent killings is the murder of Dr. Chike Akunyili, husband to late Dora Akunyili, an Anglican priest in Imo State, Reverend Emeka Merenu, and the attack and killing of 2 traditional rulers in Njaba local government area of Imo State. This development has no doubt become worrisome for governors and leaders in the region who believe the need for the establishment of the much talked about regional security outfit codenamed Ebubeagụ is crucial. In Anambra State, there has been several attacks on police stations and INEC offices, prompting the Electoral Commission to express concern over what it describes as escalating security threats ahead of the November 6th governorship election. The Speaker of the State House of Assembly says although the bill for the establishment of the joint security outfit is yet to get to the House, it will be welcomed when it does.
The Southeastern governors are still discussing about it. Once they're done with it, definitely they will pass it through us. And I promise in their number that whatever is the decision of Southeastern governors, which our own governor, His Excellency, is part of, the state legislature will definitely go by it.
In Imo State, an attack on a correctional center, police headquarters, and several others that resulted in wanton killings have been recorded.
And today, you are Abia brothers and
During a meeting of some Southeast leaders at the government house in Owerri, former Chief of Army Staff Azubike Ihejirika, who condemned the spate of attacks, is also of the opinion that the establishment of Ebubeagụ will go a long way in restoring peace.
If Ebubeagụ provides even just intelligence intelligence only, they will have achieved a lot, because intelligence is key to ridding the place of insecurity.
Ebonyi State has also had its fair share of violent attacks by gunmen, one of which is the October 17th incident where gunmen invaded Effium police station in Ahonku local government area. This incident follows another attack on the State Division of the Federal High Court. According to reports, a total of 48 police stations have been raised within the period under review. Although the security outfits have partially been launched by the Ebonyi State government, Governor Dave Umahi explains why the outfit is not yet on full scale.
All that is remaining of the Bubago is to launch it at the zonal level and to have our security gadgets. We have the law backing up the Bubago. We will tinker with the law to accommodate the joint operation that we are allowed to move from here to Enugu to operate within our orders and come back.
In neighboring Enugu State, gunmen have also carried out a number of operations. The recent is the attack on the INEC office in Ogu local government area. While the state government awaits the establishment of Ibibuagu, it set up a local security outfit called Neighborhood Watch and Forest Guard to complement efforts of security agencies in the state.
You may also help us by not walking across the...
Similarly, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Ikechukwu Ezeogo, says the bill, which should come as an executive one, is still being awaited by the lawmakers.
Attorney General, that is the Honorable Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in the states, are already discussing, because certainly the bill will have to come by way of executive bill.
In Abia State, only in the month of May, not less than 6 attacks were recorded on different security formations, including the state CID and the immigration office in Umuahia. The state government, during a security summit, recommended the establishment of a local security outfit named Homeland Security.
The summit recommends a new security architecture by the Abia State government that will incorporate a community-based vigilante services, homeland security, CPRs, and AFSAs.
Plans for the establishment of the Joint Regional Security Outfit expected to complement the efforts of the security agencies to fight against crime has been on the table since April, when governors in the region met with the leadership of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo in Owerri. But there's still no clear-cut template and direction for its takeoff. Expectations are high that words will, as a matter of urgency, be matched with actions and lasting peace restored.
Staying in the southeast, the Imo State government has commenced the distribution of relief materials and palliatives to families and victims of the recent security breaches at oil-producing community of Izombe in Oguta local government area. According to the managing director of Imo State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, Charles Orie, the gesture is in fulfillment of Governor Hope Uzodimma's promise to ameliorate the immediate sufferings of victims and families who were displaced and rendered homeless during the unfortunate incident.
This is what is left of Izombe community in Imo State after violent clash between military officers and some restive youths, leaving 5 people dead. Everywhere is torched. Not even the palace of the traditional ruler is spared. The state governor, Hope Uzodimma, during a visit to the community, had promised to assuage the loss. Days after, the government is making good on that promise. Bags of rice, tubers of yam, tomato paste, mattresses, mosquito nets. These are some of the palliative materials for affected residents.
From the ongoing, I want to say that I'm impressed by what the governor is doing here today. The people are happy, even though in tears. But this is a show of love.
Beyond these efforts, The residents want government to also provide empowerment programs for its youth population.
To help us and also send people that will bring all the children that are proving stubborn in the states. Provide things that will make them so that they will not be sending many things, many bad characters and bad lives in the rural areas because they don't have work. That makes them, you see most of them, they'll be misbehaving.
Since 2 weeks this thing happened, my children are suffering from hunger. There's nowhere to see money, nowhere to see food. And we are sleeping anywhere we see, we sleep with 7 children and my wife, including me, making 9. So we are homeless and we are foodless. So I believe this one now will help me enough. My problem lies in my house. If they can help me and give me a house also.
The state government is promising to consider the requests for the next level of its intervention.
The governor promised that he's going to set up a committee, which he did. The committee are looking into those that are affected, especially the poorest of the poor. And we are coming to have a meeting, like a town hall meeting with them very soon. We're going to discuss with them to know how we can help them to rebuild.
While the people ask for improvement on security in this community, government is also moving to investigate the remote cause of the mayhem.
In part 2, after the break, we're still staying in the southeast as Anambra State governorship election campaigns heat up as candidates visit and make promises to the voters. You join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum says region needs prayers and is working towards a political solution for the court case involving proscribed IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. Gunmen killed at least 1 policeman in an attack on police station Nafikpo local government area of Ebonyi State. EFCC interrogates former secretaries of the government of the Federation, Ayim Pius Ayim, over alleged corruption and diversion of funds. And Uganda's president describes yesterday's deadly bomb blast in the capital, Kampala, as a possible act of terrorism. We continue in the southeast as supporters of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, in Nnewi South and Nnewi North have all pledged their support for the governorship candidates of the party come November 6th. In a similar vein, members of APGA in the 12 wards of Idemili North also trooped out en masse to receive Governor Willie Obiano and the APGA campaign train, where the candidate, Professor Charles Soludo, assured of urban renewal, industrialization, provision of jobs, and creation of livable homeland for citizens.
It's barely 2 weeks to the Anambra State governorship election, and the governor, Mr. Willie Obiano, is visiting Idemili North local government area as part of his party's local government tour for campaign. Amidst the dancing and excitement, supporters receive the governor and the candidate of his party, APGA, Professor Charles Soludo.
But I know it will come. All right, ladies.
For them, the election is payback time for the governor, assuring of overwhelming victory for the All Progressives Grand Alliance.
You have done so well. We know what you have done in Obosi and various other projects in the Idemili North. The good road you have done in the Idemili Uke. We know. Umoji, Obosi, every other place. We know what we have done. We are thankful. The good people of Idemili North are so happy for the erosion control projects you started with at Obosi. That project saved a lot of buildings from collapsing.
Go home and be assured that Idemili North is for APGA, and Idemili North will vote overwhelmingly for APGA.
It's also a show of support for the candidate of APGA in Nnewi North. Community leaders want the governor to be rest assured of victory. Some residents dumped the ship of their parties to pitch their tents with APGA.
During my re-election, you gave me close to 12,000 votes. 12,000, close to 12,000 votes. Although you could have given more. But I'm my young now, they introduce Professor Chuman Soludo, much more votes than you gave me.
The atmosphere is not different in Nnewi South, where supporters came out in their numbers to show solidarity with the party.
For doing that,
APGA's support base swells as it receives new members into its fold. Party faithful say they're excited about what they say is victory for the party come November 6, 2021.
In another development, the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate in Anambra State, Senator Andy Uba, has reiterated his promise to create job opportunities for unemployed women and youth in the state if he is elected governor in the November 6th governorship election. Senator Uba made the promise while addressing party supporters and residents during his campaign in Idemili South and North local government areas. The APC governorship candidate also harped on the need for better infrastructure in Anambra State.
The APC governorship candidate, Senator Andy Uba, and his campaign team arrived amid solidarity chants from party supporters in Idemili South. The team is in town in continuation of its rally to woo electorates ahead of the governorship election. Members of the team take turns to address the crowd about their mission.
On November 6th, if I na-atụ anya bụ na anyị niile ga-enupụta anyị maka ndị Idemili si eme enye gị ballot paper ị ga-eji wee tụọ akwụkwọ ife ị ga-achọba bụ ebe gịnị ebe esela azịza.
Excellency, Idemili South gwara na anyị atụ vote 100% for mụ na Senator Andy Uba.
Foremost in the list of promises from the APC governorship candidate is to address environmental degradation, youth and women empowerment, if only he attains the highest political office in the state.
Erosion everywhere, women empowerment.
A similar scenario plays out in Idemili North local government area. Hundreds of supporters throng out to cheer the APC governorship candidate and his team as they arrive at the St. Philip's Anglican Church field, Ogidi. The man in the eye of the storm addresses the crowd.
By the grace of God, November 6th, we're going to get
The APC campaign team is expected to hit more communities in the build-up to the November 6th governorship election. Beyond the chants, the party would love to see these voices replicated in their votes at the poll.
Well, staying with Southeast issues, but in South Africa this time, the Nigerian community has gathered in Pretoria to look into a rise of ethnic nationalism in Nigeria and its implications for the Igbo people and their heritage. Among the keynote speakers were former Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, and Minority Leader, Senator Enginaya Abaribe, who joined virtually. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, has more.
As expected, the totems of Igbo brotherhood preceded the day's proceedings. The event was more about reflections and introspection, and the guest speakers were Professor Larry Obi of the Sefahu Makatu Medical Sciences University, Pretoria, who looked at Ndibo in the last decade, joining virtually former Deputy Senate President Senator Ike Kweremadu spoke from a perspective of the Igbos in the diaspora, while Senate Minority Leader Senator Enyinaya Baribe spoke on the state of the Igbos and unfolding reality.
Do we really understand what we're doing to ourselves? Can we turn on ourselves and be sure that by turning on ourselves, that affects those who are making us to be looked upon as second-class citizens?
To those beating drums of secession in various geopolitical zones of Nigeria, one of the speakers reminded all gathered that any nation entity, whole or breakaway, which is not built on solid principles like equality, integrity, self-sacrifice, duty, abiding faith, and enduring hope, will definitely fail.
The problem of our country is the character of the citizenry.
Recent disturbing sights and sounds in and about southeast Nigeria had those gathered here worried as well.
Whilst there is merit in what IPOB is doing or saying and so on because of the marginalization of the Igbos and the way they've been treated and so on, that there is a need for us to come together as a country and canvass a way forward.
The worst thing that we can do to ourselves is what is happening in Anambra State, where you enforce a sit-at-home on people.
All the security issues, the insecurity that has faced the Southeast and the Igbo nation at large currently in Nigeria, it's about hearing, and hearing very well, the agitations of the people.
There has to be a renegotiation of what people call restructuring.
On the leadership question of Nigeria, the jury was divided between those who care little about where the leader comes from as long as he or she delivers, and those who insist the seat should go to the Southeast come 2023. The event also saw students and those who have done the nation proud in their fields honored with the Ugumba Awards. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, what the 2022 proposed budget for education looks like in figures. We'll be joined by our data consultant, Babajide Ogusowo. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, has commenced the interrogation of a former Senate President, Senator Ayim Pius Ayim, in a case of corruption and diversion of public funds. Ayim, who arrived at the headquarters of the Anti-Graft Agency in Jabi, Abuja, at about 3 p.m., is currently being grilled by a team of operatives. Details of the specific allegations against the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation are still sketchy. As at press time, however, a source familiar with the case says the interrogation is not unconnected to the corruption and money laundering case involving former Aviation Minister and serving Senator Stella Odua. Part of the airport rehabilitation funds to the tune of 780 million naira were allegedly traced to the company in which Senator Ayim has interest. Spokesperson for the EFCC, Wilson Owujaren, will not comment on the case. He says he's not been briefed. To education now, where leaders often say that it is the most powerful weapon that can change the world. But how powerful has this weapon been for Nigeria? To share insights into the 2022 budget from the Federal Ministry of Education, which is set at a proposed 876 billion naira, is Babajide Ogusowo, Data and Information Consultant. Great to have you here as always.
Good evening, Amarachi.
Good evening. So the figure sounds huge, 876 billion naira, but it isn't the largest that we've had so far in our history.
Yes, you're correct. 876 billion naira budget for education is the largest in our history. That's good news. But there's still some bad news, and I'll share the bad news with you later tonight. But Amarachi, today is important because exactly on this day, in 1945, the United Nations was born. So there are three things I'd like to talk about tonight. The first is to look at the United Nations guidelines on funding for education. The second is to look at Nigeria's own guidelines for how education is being funded. And finally, and perhaps the most important, will be to look at that connection between schooling and security. So first, let's take a look at the United Nations guidelines on how education should be funded. Based on their own guidelines for education for all, they look at between 15 to 20% of the government's expenditure, the government's budget, should go into funding. But the good news, like I shared earlier, is that between 2016 and 2020, the government, the President Buhari-led government, has doubled funding the budget to education. So we see in 2016, the proposed budget for education was 403 billion naira. Based on what was proposed in the 2022 budget of 876 billion naira, that is more than double what the budget was in 2016. But if we take a look at that third column, education budget as a percentage of the federal government's budget, that is where the bad news is. The bad news is that we are far from the United Nations guidelines of 15 to 20% of the government's budget should go to education. And we also see that in the last 6 years, the funding for education relative to the size of the Nigerian government's budget has also been declining. So in 2016, 403 billion naira to education as relative to a 6 trillion naira budget. That was 7% of the budget in 2016. In 2022, the budget is proposed to be 876 billion naira relative to the government's budget of 16.4 trillion naira, which is 5% of the budget. So in all, we see, yes, like I said, the first thing we need to talk about is the good news is in naira terms, we've seen the education budget double what it was in 2016, but relative to the United Nations guidelines of 15 to 20%, we are far from those guidelines. And even looking at what we're doing, we see that there's some challenge in being able to grow how much the government puts into education.
But does it move us further and closer to the UN guideline? And does the government have a long-term strategy for funding education?
So even though the government doesn't have a specific document that says that this is how we want to fund education in the long term, here what I've done is to put parts of it together. And the revelation shows that what the government is currently doing is funding education, health, and other community services, and putting about 14 to 17% of all government spending goes into education, health, and related community services. And here's what I mean. In 2016, as an example, out of the government's 5.8 trillion naira expenditure, actual expenditure, 844 billion naira went to funding education, health, and related community services. That was 14% of the government's budget. And that has been relatively been consistent since 2016 down to 2020. So in terms of strategy, like you asked, what we've seen is for every 100 naira the government spends, it spends approximately 15 naira on education, health, and related services. And that has been the government's real strategy since it came in 2015. And that is what has happened 2016 down to 2020.
Yeah, and you mentioned security earlier. So has there been any new research on the relationship between schooling and insecurity?
That's really where I want us to spend a bit more time if we have, because the question on the lips of Nigerians is that who are these vandals? Who are these bandits? Who are these terrorists? And tonight I'd like to provide a simple answer to that question, and I'd like you to listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Let's take a look at the fact of schooling in Nigeria, and if we take a look at what exactly is going on across all regions, it will provide us that answer. The fact shows that schooling, most children go into primary school, but they don't move into junior secondary school. So for instance, in the Southeast, 1.9 million people went into primary school, but only 661,000 got into junior secondary school. But let's look at these two regions that have given Nigerians sleepless nights, the Northeast and the Northwest. These are the two regions that have the lowest conversion rates. In the Northwest, 8.8 million children go into primary school, but only 1.4 million cross into junior secondary school. The question we need to ask ourselves is, where exactly did the 7.4 million children go to? Amachi, here's what I'm saying. 8 out of every 10 children that go into the primary school in northeastern and northwestern Nigeria, 8 out of 10 that get into the primary school never make it.
Where do they go?
That is the question. In other words, the vandals, the bandits, and the terrorists that are disturbing us are our children that we have failed to keep in school. That is the fact. We're seeing millions of children going into primary school, and we're seeing multiple millions not making it into secondary school. And that is the challenge. In the final analysis, Amarachi, let's not forget the words of the Chinese philosopher Confucius, who said that education is the vaccine for violence.
Thank you, Babajide. A lot to think about tonight, as always, and thanks for being here.
The pleasure is all mine, Amarachi.
Next on the news at 10, NDLEA intercepts various quantities of drugs in Lagos and in other states, just as Colombia arrests its most wanted drug lord. We'll have that on the Foreign Scene when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari will tomorrow, October 25th, 2021, depart for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to participate in the investment conference organized by the Future Investment Initiative Institute. The president will be joined at the 5th edition of the flagship investment event by business executives from Nigeria, bankers, captains of industry, and energy experts to discuss issues on the future of investments across the globe. A 3-day event with the theme Investments in Humanity, which will host global executives and asset managers, will deliberate on progress and prosperity with energy, true final frontiers in investments, science and action, and impact of climate change on communities, among others. The president will perform the Lesser Hajj in Medina and Mecca before returning to the country on Friday. He will be accompanied on the trip by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ibrahim Pantami, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Zubairu Dada, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timothy Silva, National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mungono, Director General of National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Ahmed Rufai Abubakar, Managing Director of Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, Uche Oji, and Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa. Some participants from the private sector include Alhaji Muhammad Indimi, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, Topo Shonubi, Wale Tinubu, Alhaji Abdul Samad Rabiu, Hassan Usman, Omoboyede Olusoya, Abubakar Sulaiman, Herbert Wigwe, and Leo Stan Eke. Well, back home, the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, the Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, and the Senior Correctional Services officials have all paid a visit to the Abolongo Correctional Facility in Oyo Town for an on-the-spot assessment of damage done by Friday's attack, in which 2 deaths have been confirmed. Governor Makinde, speaking after inspecting the correctional facility, said he had ordered the main road leading to the facility to be immediately graded, while efforts are on to install CCTV cameras in all correctional centers across the state and link same with the security situation room in the state. The Minister of Interior, during the assessment tour, described the spate of attacks on correctional facilities across the country as worrisome. He assured that the federal government will do more to protect federal establishments, as he also vowed all escaped inmates will be returned to the facility by security agents. War on drugs and drug trafficking continues as operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have intercepted over 2,000 kilograms of assorted drugs, including heroin and tramadol, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The agency also intercepted illicit drugs in Ondo, Edo, Kano, Kaduna, and Plateau states, among others. At different occasions, the NDLEA intercepted consignments of drugs at the Sako export shed, concealed in walls of 10 cartons laced with tailoring materials and heading to Malaysia via Addis Ababa. A freight forwarding agent was arrested in connection with illegal export. In Edo State, a 35-year-old nursing mother was arrested at the Edo State Command headquarters of the agency while trying to smuggle drugs into the cell for a suspect in custody. The cannabis, weighing 13 grams, was buried inside food meant for the suspect. The NDLEA chairman, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, commended operatives of the agency for their commitment to duty. Beyond our shores now, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni says Saturday's deadly blast in Kampala appeared to be an act of terrorism. He said the explosion killed one person, although the Ugandan police chief, political commissar Hassan Kasije, said late Saturday that 2 people were killed. The president said on social media that 3 people came and left a package in a plastic bag, which later exploded. Local media reports that at least 7 people were injured. The blast occurred at a popular restaurant known as the Digida Pork Joint. Video showed panicked and confused revelers illuminated by blue police lights. There's been no immediate claim of responsibility. Colombia's armed forces have captured Dairo Antonio Usuga, better known as Otoniel, in the biggest blow to drug trafficking in the Andean country since the death of Pablo Escobar. The 50-year-old was captured during operations in a rural area of the country's Uraba region located in Antigua. Otoniel is accused of sending dozens of shipments of cocaine to the United States. President Ivan Duque, who announced his capture, said he's also accused of killing police officers, recruiting minors, and sexually abusing children, among other crimes. Colombia had offered a reward of up to 3 billion pesos for information concerning Antoniel's whereabouts, while the U.S. government had put up a reward of $5 million for help locating him. Otoniel rose to become the leader of the drug trafficking group, the Clan del Golfo, following stints as a left-wing guerrilla and later as a paramilitary. And in Asia, a 6.5 magnitude earthquake struck the northeastern region of Taiwan, shaking buildings in the Taipei, but there were no reports of damages. Officials do say it had a depth of 66.8 kilometers and could be felt across the northern, eastern and western parts of the island, with the epicenter in Yilan County. Taiwan lies near the junction of 2 tectonic plates and is prone to earthquakes. More than 100 people were killed in the quake in southern Taiwan in 2016, while a 7.3 magnitude quake killed more than 2,000 people in 1999. Sports news begins with the Super Falcons suffering a 1-0 defeat to the Black Queens of Ghana in the return leg of their 2022 Africa Women's Cup of Nations qualifier in Accra earlier this evening. The scoreline, however, did not deny 9-time African champions, the Super Falcons, from advancing to the final round of qualifier 2-1 aggregate, having won the first leg 2-0 in Lagos. Nigeria will face the Lady Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire in February 2022 for a slot at next year's Women Africa Cup of Nations to be hosted by Morocco. It's the end of the road for Nigeria's CAF Champions League representative, Rivers United, who bowed out of the tournament following a 1-0 defeat to Sudan's Al Hilal at the Suez Stadium in Ismaila, Egypt. Both sides played a 1-1 draw in the first leg at the Adokiye Amesiamaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. Al Hilal advances 2-1 on aggregate. The result means Rivers United will drop to the CAF Confederation Cup, where they will continue their continental campaign. Meanwhile, Enyimba International have advanced to the CAF Confederation Cup second preliminary round by recording an emphatic 3-0 win over Senegal's Diambas at the Enyimba International Stadium in Aba, progressing 4-0 on aggregate. Enyimba will wait to know their rivals in the next round on Tuesday, when the draw takes place in Cairo, Egypt. Liverpool inflicted a historic hammering on Manchester United as Mohamed Salah scored a hat-trick in a 5-0 win at Old Trafford earlier this evening, leaving manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer clinging to his job. For the first time in Premier League history, United trailed 4-0 at half-time and have now suffered a run of taking just 1 point from a possible 12 in the league. It was Liverpool's biggest win against United since 1925 and moved them 7 points clear of Solskjaer's side in the Premier League table.
Well, I've heard nothing else, and still thinking about tomorrow's work. Of course, we're all low. I can't say now that I've felt any worse than this, because this is the worst I've been, the lowest I've been. And as I've said, I accept the responsibility, and that is mine today.
Meanwhile, West Ham United continued their impressive recent run of form with a narrow 1-0 win over Tottenham at the London Stadium. A second-half strike from Mikel Antonio gave the Hammers their second successive league win and condemned Tottenham to a second consecutive loss this week. Leicester earned a smash-and-grab victory at Brentford, running out 2-1 winners at the Community Stadium. And the main news again. Chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum says the region needs prayers just as leaders are working towards a political solution for the court case involving proscribed IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. That'll be all the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.